and welcome to a DFS preview for the 2023 Valspar Championship. My name is Eric, and here at SweetSpotDFS, it's all about trying to hit the optimal lineup every single week. And in these preview videos, what I like to do is go over the stats I think you need to target to do just that. So that means looking at the bucket system, which if you are unfamiliar with, I do have a video link in the description below that'll send you to a video that explains all about it. You really only need to watch the first 5 minutes. That'll explain most of it, but it is an 18-minute long video, so if you have the time and you're interested, again, there's a video link in the description. Now, it's not just going to be the bucket system. I'm going to go over the golf course and the tournament information, all that good stuff. We'll look at some pass optimal lineups and GPP winning lineups. Just a reminder, that's just to give us a little idea of salary construction and what we should do this week. Not every tournament is the same. So last year might be different than this year, but at least it gives us an idea of where to start building our lineups. It's not an end-all be-all. So it's just another stat piece, another data piece to look at and to analyze and try to figure out what is the best way to hit the optimal lineup. I'm also going to review the Players Championship, which was a fantastic tournament. I got to watch the whole thing Sunday, so I've got a lot of things to talk about. Probably actually limit that. You know how I am. I will talk forever if I can. So I'll try to limit myself, but it was great. I mean, Scotty won and it didn't even look dominant. He steamrolled everyone. And then we're going to get in the bucket system, because reviewing the Players Championship means going over the sweet spot process for the Players Championship, letting you know how well it did, and comparing it to the GPP winning lineup, and as well as the optimal lineup, to give you a little bit of confidence to use it this week. So before we get into any of that, I do want to remind you, I like to do giveaways. I'm going to throw them on the screen really quickly. Well, actually, I've done this in a different method that I like, or a different rotation. So we're going to actually start with the cheat sheet. That you can find a link in the description below that I'll send you to this page. Now, once you're here, all I ask you to do is go to the file menu, go down to make a copy, and then it's yours. You get to use all of the filters that I have built into here. And when I go over each of these videos, so I do a preview video Mondays and I do a strategy video Tuesdays, which is live, which we had a lot of participants last week, which was wonderful. I mean, Players Championship, it's a popular tournament, but hey, you come in, you just want to chat, I'll chat golf with you. If you want me to build lineups for you, I mean, give me 2 golfers that you want me to build lineups around using the optimizer, and I'll do just that. I don't think that's something that should be frowned upon. It just gives you ideas of how to build your lineups. We had a follower of the show that was in our chat during the live chat, I should say, who won $750 last week. That was Ryan Henson. So it's a fun time. I enjoy interacting with each and every one of you. So tomorrow, Tuesday, live show, you can use this this cheat sheet while I go over that video, and especially while I'm going over this one. When I go over the buckets later on, if you're using this cheat sheet, you make a copy, you can use the DraftKings filter that I have on the Dream Sheet page, and on the bucket system page, you can also use the bucket system filter. So again, check the link in the description below. Once you're there, click it. It'll bring you to this page. You go file, make a copy, and that's it. And then it's yours. Save it however you want to save it. You get to use all the filters that I use. So again, the cheat sheet's available to you. Now, I will have an optimizer ready by tomorrow. I usually don't like to put that together until we get tee times, because obviously when I go over the marquee tee times, that's all included when it comes to building lineups using the sweet spot process. So I don't send out the optimizer early, because there's no point. I mean, I certainly could, but I think it's just much more beneficial to wait and send it to you once I get the tee times. So once those are out, I'll update the optimizer, and of course, when I'm not working, or if I have a break, I'll do it then. But yeah, you can expect that to be ready right before the strategy video. I usually try to go live somewhere between 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. It really depends on how much I get done and how quickly I can get it done. But I don't think I'll go earlier than 7. I think it'll always be around 7 or 8. I've been toying around with doing it early because I want to get it done as quick as possible. But I think once the summer comes around, once the summer comes around, golf season starts, I'm not sure I want to be doing this during sunlight. So we'll see. We'll figure that out. I'm not going to bore you with that right now. Anyways, Optimizer will be ready tomorrow. Cheat sheet is ready for you right now. Now, there are some monetary giveaways that I have. One of them's more like a rebate, and that's Prize Picks. If you haven't signed up on Prize Picks yet, I do have a link in the description that'll send you straight to the sign up page. You use the promo code SweetSpot, put at least $20 in your account. I am going to give you $20 back. Just my way to reward you for using the promo code. And that way you get to play it for free. Plus, Prize Picks will match your deposit up to $100, so that $20 turns into $40, and it really just costs you that sign-up information and that initial deposit. Now, you can, of course, put $100 in your account, reap the benefits of them matching that deposit. You're still going to get $20 back from me, so really, you get $200 to your account, and it only costs $80. So that's available to you. Again, link in the description below. And then, of course, I have a weekly and a monthly giveaway. If you didn't already see, boom, we hit the monthly goal. 500 subscribers. We're at 503. So thank you very much. I was going to say congratulations to you guys. Thank you very much for getting us to 500. This is a cool goal. It's definitely like a milestone. 1,000 subscribers is, I mean, that was the goal last year. Still on the road to 1,000. We're halfway there. So that's awesome. What I'm going to do, so just so you guys know, as you're listening to this, if you didn't already know, I will be giving away $50 at the end of the month. If you want entries into that giveaway, here's what the requirements are. You got to be subscribed to the channel. And for each time, I should say each video that I post and you comment on, you get one free entry. You only get one entry per video. So you can comment as many times as you'd like on a video, but you only get one entry for that video. I post somewhere between 4 to 6 videos a week. So obviously at the end of the month, you could have anywhere between 20 to 24 entries to win $50. Now I'm going to sweeten the pot a little bit because I'm going to update this on the fly. So you can see it's 500 subscribers. Well, guess what? I'm going to change that to 550 subscribers. If we reach 550 subscribers, I'm going to double this giveaway. So it's going to go from $50 to $100. Now, as much as I'd love to see it get to 550 by the end of the month, I mean, I'm going to pose a challenge to you guys. I don't think it's going to happen. But if it does, that 50 is going to turn into 100. So again, we're giving $50 away at the end of the month. You want an entry into the monthly giveaway, as well as each weekly giveaway that I do. Comment on the videos that I post, be subscribed to the channel. I will, if I can't tell you're subscribed to the channel, I will ask for proof. So some people have their settings set to private, so you can't really see. Some people broadcast who they're subscribed to. So if you find me asking for validation, I mean no offense. It's just to validate. Now, this monthly giveaway also goes into a weekly giveaway. The same criteria, be subscribed and comment on my videos. And just to show you what that looks like, I'm going to go ahead and put that on the screen. So these are all the people that participated. I had 36 total unique entries. So out of the 6 videos or 5 videos that I posted, so I had a preview video, a tournament and course information video, a optimal and GPP winning lineup video, a bucket system video, a strategy video, which was live, but obviously that posts after I go live. So you have an opportunity to leave comments there. That counts as well. And then if you participated in the live chat, which I had 12 people participate, which was wonderful, you also get an entry here. So what was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 different videos that you could get entries from. So you can get a max of 6 entries. I already posted a review video for the API. That's a little late. And that's a little late because I didn't get the thumbnail up and ready, last week. A little bit behind, so I put it out this week. I'm going to have that go towards next week's giveaway since I posted it today. So you can get an additional entry to next week's giveaway, which again, it's worth $5, but also you're going to be put towards the monthly giveaway worth $50. So just a lot of benefits for participating on this channel. So with that being said, let's run this weekly giveaway. This is $5 are going to go out to any or one of these guys or girls over here on the side. I really need to get that drum roll sound. Hitting a Y means we'll find our winner, and our winner this week from the Players Championship is Dane Metcalf. One entry, the DFS strategy video. Dane, if you're watching, you have to reach out to me. Let me know how I can provide you that $5. It can be through PayPal, Google Pay, and also Venmo. Those three avenues are probably the best ways. If you want some other avenue, we can figure it out. Contact me at SweetSpotDFS@gmail.com. That was just on the screen. Let me know, or even tweet or DM me on Twitter. I pretty much pay attention to that every single day. So let me know. $5 is yours, man. So congratulations to Dane. Let's go ahead and get into this video. Trying to remember where we start. We are going to start. I can find my mouse cursor. Geez. We're going to start with the tournament and course information. Now, I like to go over each and every hole of each and every golf course for every tournament and try to figure out what shot is beneficial at this golf course. Not so much what is needed. Sometimes I will say, you know, in the description here, I will say if it's a needed shot shape. I just encourage you guys to pause the video, change the settings. What's it called? Change the definition to 1080p. I forget what that's. I seriously mind blank right now. Change the definition of the video to 1080p, pause the video, read the description if you're interested in it. If not, that's fine. No big deal. You can already see that I have fade. A fade shot shape here at this golf course is fairly beneficial. That is a right-handed left to right shot shape. Now, I don't have a single draw on here that says that would be beneficial for this golf course. If we look at, you know, like past top 10s, past top 5s, we can look. Sam Burns, he's your defending champion. He's back-to-back champion, by the way. He hits a fade. Davis Riley hits a fade. Justin Thomas hits a fade. Neesmith hits a fade. Matt Fitzpatrick, I think he shapes it both directions. I'm pretty sure he hits a draw. Brian Harmon, a lefty who hits a draw. That's a fade if you're going right-handed, but obviously he hits a left to right shot shape. If I said right to left, I'm sorry. I meant to say left to right shot shape. Sahith Theegala, I've seen him do both. I'm not positive. Sink hits a draw. Streelman hits a fade. Hadwin shapes it both directions. Streb hits a fade. Brooks Koepka hits a fade. I'm not going to continue going on there. Burns hits a fade. Keegan Bradley hits a draw. Hovland hits a fade. I forget what Tringali does. Abram Answer, I think he kind of shapes it both directions. I can't remember. I mean, he's obviously on the Live Tour now. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head what I see him do most of the time. I think it's a fade. Not sure what Vaughn Taylor does. Homa hits a draw most of the time. Obviously, in his repertoire now, he can shape it both directions, but in 2021, I think it was mostly a draw. Oosthuizen hits a draw. Merritt, I'm not sure. And Joaquin Niemann hits a draw. So in 2021, we had a lot of draw golfers. 2019, Paul Casey was a back-to-back champion. They both hit draws. Kokrak and Patrick Reed hit draws. Tiger in 2018, he can shape it both directions. Oosthuizen hits a draw. So as much as I say a fade is beneficial at this golf course, there are plenty of draw golfers that find their way inside the top 10. So I always say this every single week. Yes, I do have benefits. What I think is a preferred shot shape on here. It's not an end-all be-all. If you have a tiebreaker between two golfers, maybe that's how you use it. Otherwise, other than that, probably just ignore it. Really, it would be... It'd be nice to kind of... I record this data in my cheat sheets. You can see I have a shot shape column. I could probably analyze every single week, every single year for the tournament and just see what shot shapes that I have down for these golfers and try to figure it out from there. But I mean, it's not complete just yet. Hopefully at some point in time it will be. Anyways, I don't have to continue going on with which shot shapes preferred. That's what I usually like to talk about with the golf course. Now, it is a par 71, 7,300 yards. I believe it's at sea level, so the course does play fairly long. It is a tough golf course. I mean, if we were to look at your winning score, minus 17 is pretty low, to be quite honest. When we look at previous years, we see somewhere between, single digits to 14 under. And that was just once. So I think if I don't have the weather details for 2021, 2022, but I imagine weather conditions didn't really hurt this tournament. I think if wind were to come through, this course becomes a little bit more challenging. So what should you do with that kind of information? Well, if you have the opportunity, the ability to research based off of scoring conditions, say somewhere between 10 under to 14 under, that's probably the best, just to see who tends to play better versus their baseline. If you could do something like that, if you could research anything like that, that's probably the best way. I think you could even use surface level analysis and just grab, put into your criteria minus 10 to minus 14 winning score and just see what the average finishing position for some of these golfers are. And then just put that in your model somehow. I wouldn't just look at the top of that list and go and grab 6 golfers that fit in the lineup. I don't think that's the best way to do it. But I think maybe you give those golfers a little bit of a boost in your scoring models. I think that's the best way to do anything like that. Also, the architect, oh my God, I'm not even going to guess. I think it's Donald Ross. I'm not positive off the top of my head. Let me just double check. And what you could do with that as well is use that as your research tools as well. Larry Packard is your architect. Yeah, Donald Ross. Nope. You could use that if he has other golf courses on tour. Certainly could do that, but I think that's a bit noisy. I don't necessarily think that's going to help you find golfers, and especially not optimal lineup golfers. So just more stuff to add to your research. I don't think it really necessarily matters. I don't care for how many par 3s there are. Looks like there's 5 par 3s, 9 par 4s, and 4 par 5s. You can do, if you want to get that into the weeds, you certainly can. Not going to really worry about it. I personally think your best way to do this is probably just go by scoring conditions. 10 under to 14 under. Add that to your model somehow and then move on. Now, when it comes to and that was actually much longer than I needed it to be. Now, talking about the tournament, there's going to be 144 golfers in this field. You obviously have your normal cut, top 65 and ties. Strength of field is 213. Again, this is based off of the old criteria of putting strength of field points together. Again, I like this better than the current rating scale because, seeing a difference between 10 to 12 is hard to figure out, just how crazy that strength of field is compared to another course. 200 versus 800 last week, you kind of can tell that this is a very, very weak golf tournament compared to last week and compared to the week before. All those elevated events had strength of fields over 800. This is 213. You can see it's pretty top heavy. We have Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, Sam Burns, Matt Fitzpatrick. You can kind of see the point totals that they contribute to this score right here. Their OWGR score. We have, how many golfers is this? 7 golfers that have double-digit points that go towards the strength of field, and this actually equals 103. So the 7 golfers, let's see. So Brian Harmon, Keegan Bradley, and then the top 5, they make up half of the strength of field points. It's a very weak field. Let's put it that way. and we're going to have 4 open qualifiers. I will add those to the cheat sheet once I get that information. I'll most likely get it from DraftKings tomorrow at some point. I shouldn't say never. Most of the time, I don't care about those 4 open qualifiers, if I'm being honest. A lot of times, I don't care to update their data on these spreadsheets, and I don't really include them in my lineups. There's a possibility that a Corey Connors can emerge from one of them. If you don't know about Corey Connors, he Monday qualified and won. I think it was one of the Texas events. So too did Nate Lashley at the Rocket Mortgage Classic. So those things can happen. But most of the time, I don't necessarily care. And we're probably not getting to those players anyways. So just throwing that out there. The field's 144. I think DraftKings has 142 golfers, but 2 people have already withdrawn. I have not updated on the spreadsheet yet, but I will. Aaron Rye is one of them. I know that for sure. And I can't remember who the other golfer is. But again, I'll update that on the cheat sheet right after this video. So just note that. That's your tournament and course information, way longer than it needed to be. So let's move on to the next piece, which is getting into the past optimal lineups and the GPP winning lineups. So it's just kind of doing a little comparison, trying to figure out which lineup builds, which salary constructions are the best way to attack this tournament. Your optimal lineup in 2018. Now, all optimal lineups have these little black tick marks, so you can kind of see it before I say it. Paul Casey at $9,800. Patrick Reed at $7,700. Tiger Woods, probably the last time he was ever in an optimal lineup. That's not true. 2019 Masters. Duh. So Paul Casey, 98. Patrick Reed, 77. Tiger Woods at 9,500. Rory Sabatini at 6,800. Jim Furyk at 7,400. And Brandon Grace at 8,600. So just to go over just the salaries, we had 2 9K golfers, an 8K golfer, 2 7K golfers, and a 6K golfer. That seems pretty traditional. I mean, outside of a 10K golfer replacing one of those 9K golfers, pretty darn close. And mind you, there were 2 10K golfers sandwiched in between the golfers I just said. So keep that in mind. There's definitely this year, there was a 10, in 2018, there were 2 10K golfers inside the top 10, really inside the top 5. And you probably could have built a lineup around them, honestly. Your GPP winning lineup basically used the same top 3. So a 9K7 and another 9. Sabatini at 68, Webb Simpson at 85, and then Zach Johnson at 77. So pretty common names that we've seen before at reasonable price tags. So maybe you could do that this week. In 2019, your optimal lineup left $700 on the table. It started with the $9,700 Paul Casey, then to a $9,300. So this is 2 years in a row that the optimal lineup went 9-9, basically. Then we had an $8,600 Jason Kokrak, $7,700 Sung J M, $7,100 Denny McCarthy, and a $6,900 Ryan Armour. So 998, 776, just like the year before. As you can tell, we also have some 10K and above golfers sandwiched in between those names. Weird how 2 years in a row, same thing happens. It's like, I'm joking around about this because of the criticism that Chad Eckert received last week for kind of hyping me up with the past optimal lineups. Sometimes you see these patterns, and they're patterns for a reason. They're performance patterns, essentially. I get it, salary has nothing to do with performance, but these are rank ordered by the best golfers in the field. So it does have something to do with performance, or at least perceived or projected performance, right? Okay, so moving on. 2020, there wasn't a tournament because of COVID. 2021, I have 3 lineups to talk about. Your optimal lineup left $900 on the table. And it started with the $7,900 Sam Burns, $7,900 Keegan Bradley. So for those that are kind of, have a little Oh my God. Words are terrible right now. Those that are superstitious. There we go. I don't know why I couldn't think of that word. Of having two price tags together. Guess what? 2021, two $7,900 golfers. So you can quiet that superstition. I'm also talking to myself because I do that in the live videos all the time. So two 7K golfers, Victor Hovland 10.5, Cameron Tringale at 8,400, Vaughn Taylor at 63, and Max Homa at 81. I just want to make sure that price, yeah, 49,100. So we're leaving $900 on the table. Your GPP winning lineup used all $50,000. So the optimal that week scored 654. GPP scored 595. So there's like a 60-point gap, pretty close to a 60-point gap between the two. But the GPP started with those same three, just like the year before. 7, 7, 10. Then it had Max Homa at 81, Bubba Watson at 8,900, and then Scott Stallings at 67. It's a very unique lineup, but I mean, it's let's see, we went 10, 8, 8. So two 8Ks, a 10K, two 7s, and a 6. So it's almost doing your 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6. Bubba was $8,900, so it was close, but not necessarily that close. To do the 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6 approach, I created a more realistic optimal. That scored 638. That's a much closer to the optimal lineup than the GPP winning lineup. And that did go 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6. So Victor Hovland at 10, Abe Answer at 9, Max Homa at 8, the two $7,900 golfers, and then Vaughn Taylor at 63. Now, Vaughn Taylor would be really difficult to get to. And of course, I always advocate don't play a 6K golfer more than 4%. So the chances of getting to Vaughn Taylor, probably pretty low. But, I mean, you did have Troy Merritt around that price tag. That's probably it. I mean, you could say you could get to Hank Lebioda, but were you really playing Hank Lebioda that year? Same with Ted Potter Jr. or even Camilo Villegas or Bronson Burgoon. So there's some 6K golfers to consider, you know, every single week. And I think this week we also just don't shy away from the 6K range. In 2022, again, I have three lineups to cover. Your optimal left $1,600 on the table, and that started with Justin Thomas at $11,000, believe it or not. We go there, then we go to Sam Burns at 9,600, two 6K golfers in Riley and Neesmith, $7,600 Brian Harmon, and Stuart Sink at 7,000. So just to recap, just using price tags, that's a 10K golfer, a 9K golfer, two 7s, and two 6s. So 10, 9, 7, 7, 6, 6. Those are your 6 golfers that comprise the optimal lineup. Your GPP winning lineup left no money on the table once again. And just to compare the price or the point totals, optimal scored 679.5. GPP scored 616, so another 60-point difference. And the optimal used Sam Burns at 96, Davis Riley at 64, Justin Thomas at 11, Tommy Fleetwood at 91, Seth Legal at 7,200, and Brian Stewart at 67, believe it or not. So we went 10, 9, 9, 7, 6, 6. So another variation of the 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6, you know, starting that way. But of course, two 9Ks instead of having an 8K in there, and two 6Ks instead of having two 7s. So interesting, nonetheless. A sweet spot optimal or something, just something I could get to a little easier. Maybe not. 11K golfer and Justin Thomas, 96 and Sam Burns, close to an 8K golfer and Matthew Fitzpatrick, so that's $9,000, 1 7 and 2 6s. As I see this, I think for me, I'm still gonna match the strategy that I had last week during the Players and the week before, where I actually had a really good time at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. I'm gonna pair all the 10K golfers with the 9K golfers, and basically I'll do that maybe 4 times. So each 10K will be matched with a 9K. And I'm going to do that 4 times for each of those combinations. That should give me roughly 120 lineups just doing that. And I'm probably going to put 140, 150 lineups in. So with the remaining 20 or 30 lineups, I won't start with a 10K golfer and I'll just go with 9. You know, starting with like 2 9s, something like that, make them a little bit more balanced. Probably reach down in the 6K range just because we see that all the time. And go from there. I think you can get, I'll say this, you don't need to get cute, but I also think taking a couple risks on 6K golfers is probably the way to go. I mean, it is every single week, no matter what, but I think really digging down to the bottom of the barrel and getting like a $6,200 to a $6,500 golfer, probably pretty beneficial this week, if I'm being honest. I think this is a type of tournament that lends to that type of golfer somehow popping up inside the top 5, top 10, so I wouldn't be afraid of that. And with that being said, you also don't need to leave a lot of money on the table, which gives you access to some of the higher priced guys. Now, I guess, did we see a week where there wasn't a 10K golfer up inside the top 10? No. Every single week that we've had that I went over, or every single year at the Valspar Championship, there's been at least one 10K golfer inside the top 10, if not 2. 2018, there were 2. 2019, there were 2. So just to highlight that for you, Sergio and Rose, 2 10K golfers in 2018. In 2019, Dustin Johnson and John Rahm, 2 11K golfers. In 2021, we just have Victor. Justin Thomas, really close in 13th place, but no cigar. So just one 10K golfer there. In 2020, we have Justin Thomas here at the top, and Xander was close, but no cigar. The cigar smoker himself. So I don't think you have to worry about this is every single week I advocate for a 10-9-8-7-7-6 start to your lineup builds. And then you can make some substitutions here and there. I think you don't shy away from that this week. You just go with it. All right. That's enough going over the past optimal and GPP winning lineups. Let's review the Players Championship, because I want to get into the sweet spot process to show you that you can trust it this week at the Valspar. One thing I want you to always note when I go over these reviews is this column right here. This is this year's totals. So at the Players Championship this year, you can see how many successes we see with the buckets. Now, just so you note, in order for this to get a Y for this bucket, so we always kind of, cross-reference. Last year ones, we first look at this column here, my projection. We start with the minimum. You always round down with the minimum. 0.91 rounds down to 0. Now, there's also a rule, first of all, if the max projection doesn't reach 2 when you round up, because we always round up in the max projection, so 1.52 goes up to 2. Hopefully I haven't lost you yet. Just to recap, always round down with the minimum projection. So 0.91 rounds down to 0. We always round up with the max projection. So 1.52 goes up to 2. So the projection minimum is 0, max is 2. If for whatever reason this max projection doesn't round up to 2, I still want there to be a 2-point buffer between the minimum and the maximum. Since we can't go any lower than 0, the max will always be 2. So the lowest projection will always be 0 to 2. I want you to keep that in mind. So now that I said all that, how I get a Y in this column is I first look at top 10s. If this number falls outside of that range, 0 to 2, which you can see 3, that falls out, we then look at the optimal lineup. And if the optimal lineup, that number falls inside the projection, then we get a Y. And that's how I track successes. It's the fastest way I've been able to explain that, so I hope it was worth it. I'm going to leave it up to you. Pause the video, look at the projections, I'll make it easy for you, versus the top 10 and optimal lineups. But you can also just look at the Ys in this column. It's all formula driven, so it's not like I'm trying to pull a fast one over you. 36 out of 36 buckets were correct. It's a 100% success rate on the bucket system at the Players Championship. Follower Ryan Henson, Big R Colts fan. He won $750 and gave me a little shout out, so I appreciate that. I'm shouting you out now. Said the buckets were on fire this last week. He said that before I even looked at it. So I was like, let's double check. So I updated my spreadsheets. Sure enough, 100% success rate. I'm not going to say it's the first time it's been 100%, but most of the time I see like 35 out of 36, 33 out of 36. That's me being honest and transparent with you. It's nice to see, 100% success rate. Here's the crazy thing. I would imagine when there's a 100% success rate with the buckets, that the bucket system would have found the optimal lineup. It didn't. And I'll explain why. There are some buckets that I had a minimum of at least one that I wanted to choose. You want to choose a golfer from, and I'll get to that with the Sweet Spot Optimal. That in itself took away from the fact that we could hit the optimal lineup. Like, we just didn't. I think it was last year 5s. You can see the minimum when you round down, it's 1 to 3. 2 of them finished inside the top 10. So, right, that was a success. 0 were in the optimal lineup. So that was one bucket. There's also another one down here where 0 were in it, but you wanted to choose at least one. Trying to remember where it is. I'm assuming it's this one right here, recent form 4s. Looks like the projection's 1 to 3. Maybe not. I'll have to double check with the optimizer, but just the fact that this one right here was a 0, that's going to make it known that you can't hit the optimal lineup following the bucket system 100%. Like, if you were to do the minimums as it says here, you wouldn't get there. Now, if you were to scrap the minimums and put everything to 0 for your minimums and then cap yourself with the maxes, you certainly could have gotten there. I've done that in the past. Not terrible, but I like to follow the Sweet Spot process the whole way. Okay, enough of that. Let me show you what the optimal lineup versus the GPP versus the Sweet Spot Optimal was. Your optimal left $1,400 on the table. There's no way we're getting there. There's no way. Like, just don't even think about trying to build a lineup that way. I think that's nonsense. The optimal, though, had a 10K golfer in it, an 8K, 7. Let's put it 2 8Ks. I'm sorry. 2 8s, 2 7s, and a 6. So just to recap, that's a 10, 2 8s, 2 7s, and a 6. And that scored 651 points. Your GPP winning lineup, which was a fantastic lineup. I mean, just look at all the blue that's at the top. He had 4 of the top 4 golfers in the tournament. Scotty Scheffler at 10K, Tyrrell Hatton at 8,300. By the way, this isn't the $5 GPP. I don't know why I said that. This is the Millie Maker. 10K, 8K, 7, 8K, 7, 7. So no 6K golfers for your Millionaire Maker. So just go over that again. 10,600 Scotty Scheffler. $8,900 Victor Hovland. $8,300 Tyrrell Hatton. $7,400 Tom Hoge, $7,300 Min-Woo Lee, and $7,500 Ricky Fowler. Ricky Fowler is in the Millie Maker winning lineup. That's all good and grand, right? So the Millie Maker lineup scored 634 versus 651. 17-point gap. That is definitely the most narrow gap that I've seen in a very, very long time. So I'm giving this guy his due. Like, that was a fantastic lineup. Now, I usually, like every single week, brag that the Sweet Spot lineup, the Sweet Spot Optimal, following the bucket system 100% of the way, just trounces the GPP winning lineup, whatever one I'm in. Not this week. 627.5 is the best that I could do. Used up 49,600. This got us third place. I double checked who was at the top of the leaderboard at the Millie Maker. 627.5 was good enough for third place. I can't remember if that drops down to $100,000 or what it drops down to, but it obviously goes from $1 million and then it drops, dramatically down to like 150 maybe. So maybe we won 75,000 with that lineup. But that is using the 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6. So Sky Scheffler at 10,600, Sung JM at 9,000, Tyrrell Hatton at 8,300, Hoagie at 74, Rose at 77, and Justin Suh at 6,600. So, yeah, didn't take down GPP. Now, just to also clarify, that's also following the marquee tee times, and that's another thing to talk about in the sweet spot process. So if you don't know, I look at all the rankings for the golfers I have, and I group rank them, or I group order them. Oh, Jesus. Rank order them. I knew I had the words in there somewhere. I rank order them based off of their group rankings, or based off of their sweet spot score, their cumulative sweet spot score. So the top group was John Rahm, Rory McIlroy, Scotty Scheffler. You can see Scotty Scheffler won the tournament. He was also in the optimal lineup, in the GPP winning lineup. Here are the rules. You want to select 2 to 4 golfers from the marquee tee times. There are only 9 marquee tee times. Another rule is you don't select more than 1 golfer from a group. So really, out of those 9 groups, you want to select somewhere between 2 to 4 of those groups and 1 golfer in each of those groups that you're selecting the groups from. That's confusing, just saying it out loud. Let's try it again. Out of the 9 marquee groups, choose 2 to 4 of them and select 1 golfer from them. I think that's probably the best way to do it. And put them in your lineup. That's the best way to do it. As you can see, Scotty Scheffler was one of those guys, and Victor Hovland was another guy. We don't see any other really groups. I mean, Ricky Fowler down here in group 8. This is like, these light green boxes down here are more like honorable mentions. Like, they're really close to not being a marquee tee time, but I will consider them a marquee tee time. So we had 3. We had, oh, I'm sorry, Ricky Fowler was not the guy, but Justin Rose was. So okay. I'm getting things mixed up. The GPP winning lineup is the one in blue. The Sweet Spot Optimal are these salaries in green. So Tyrrell Hatton was not in a marquee tee time. He was just outside of the marquee tee time, but we had Justin Rose and Scotty Scheffler that we could choose from. Now, the GPP winning lineup had 3 golfers that were in the marquee tee times. That was Scotty Scheffler, Victor Hovland, and Ricky Fowler. The optimal lineup had Scotty Scheffler and Hideki Matsuyama. So technically, the marquee tee time portion of this was 100% correct. Now, we couldn't build a Sweet Spot Optimal that took down a GPP, so that failed. And I always judge myself based off of the GPP winning lineup. Now, I'm also trying to always hit the optimal lineup. That's always the goal. But here's the whole motto. Aim for the optimal lineup. If you miss, hopefully we hit the GPP winning lineup instead. That's the whole motto. Aim small, miss small. If we don't hit the optimal, chances are maybe we win $100,000. And obviously we could have done that with the Millie Maker lineup, with the Sweet Spot Optimal getting 3rd place. So it's a bummer. Like, that lineup that guy had was so good. So good. So kudos to that person. But that is your review of the Players Championship. 43 minutes in here. That's not so bad. Let's go ahead, pull up the bucket system for the Valspar Championship. Now, let me just repeat that and hide some of these things. I like to cut out videos out of the preview video to give you guys more options, and maybe just watch a shorter version of a video. I want to give you the possibility, we just hide these, right? To get more entries into the giveaways, and also to watch videos when you can. And so they're like little snippets. So I usually like to create a new intro during each of these segments. So bear with me. I apologize. I know it's not, great to always hear that kind of stuff. So let's talk about the bucket system at the Valspar Championship. Hopefully you had confidence coming from the Players Championship, seeing how well the bucket system did there, to take on the bucket system this week. So if you're following along with me at home, by the way, again, just a reminder, there's a cheat sheet available for you in the description of this video. Click that link. That'll bring you to the cheat sheet where you can use the bucket system here and follow along with me. Use the filters. Remember, once you come here, go to the file menu and make a copy. That way it's yours, and that way you get to use the filters that I'm going to be using right now. So I'm going to go ahead, put a filter on the bucket system. I'm going to clear out whatever I had here. You don't have to worry about this when you make a copy of yours. And I also need to move it all the way over to there. There we go. So following along with me, go ahead, clear out everything from the stat bucket over here. Just go to that little clear button and then hit last year. We're going to talk about the last year buckets. Just like I said in the review of the Players Championship, we are looking at these two buckets, or these two columns right here for each of the buckets. So we always cross-reference each of these buckets. So last year one, remember in the minimum projection, we always round down. So 1.68 turns into 1. Max projection 2.8 goes up to 3. So just to repeat that, round down with the minimum projection bucket, round up with the max projection bucket. So 1.68 turns into 1, 2.8 turns into 3. And that is your projection for the last year one bucket. So now that you know that, go to the dream sheet portion of the cheat sheet. Go ahead and put a filter on that as well. And basically the same thing. Clear out everyone from the last year bucket and then just select last year ones. And that's how we get to go through this together. Super simple, super easy. I mean, one thing you can do is match up. So there's 13 golfers that I see here. You can count them if you want and double check that for the bucket totals for this year. That way you know which bucket we're talking about. You're following along with me perfectly, and you're also validating me at the same time. So we have 13 golfers here. 3 of them are 10K or in the 10K range. I was going to say 10K or better, but no one is above 10K. We have 3 golfers in the 10K range. I imagine this is where we're going to find one of the guys inside the top 10. I mean, this bucket, we already want somewhere between 1 to 3. And basically what that bucket tells you is having a good finish from last year's tournament matters at this event. And really it's having a top 20 finish from last year shows to be a successful indicator for the next year, or for the current year, I should say. So Justin Thomas, Sam Burns, Matt Fitzpatrick, we've already learned going over the past optimal lineups, you want a 10K golfer. Since there are only 4 in this tournament, why not start with one of these guys? I think it's a no-brainer. And I wouldn't even mind going back to Sam Burns. He played really well at the Players Championship. This is a tournament that he plays really well at. I just don't see why not. I also like Justin Thomas. He's number 1 in my model this week. And Matt Fitzpatrick is number 2. So they're right next to each other. I don't think you have an issue choosing any of them. And by the way, I said this earlier, I'm just going to combine each 10 and 9K golfer together about 3 or 4 times, build myself 120 lineups, and have each one of those combinations, again, 3 or 4 times. So I'm probably going to cover all my bases doing it that way. Hopefully one of those hits the optimal. That's just my strategy in doing it this week. If you're selecting, if you're building one lineup, I think you start with one of these guys. I just don't see why you would not do that. Now, again, the projection is 1 to 3. So if you do select one of these guys, you still have all the room to select one of these guys. Now, probably staying away from like Brian Stewart and Ryan Streb. But by the way, I don't have an issue playing those guys. Quite frankly, I'm never afraid of playing Robert Streb, especially if he's in a bucket that seems to be pretty predominant one that you want to select from. No issue. Brian Stewart already showed he was in an optimal lineup before, or a GPP winning lineup. Kevin Streelman, I think, is a perfect fit for this golf course. I like that. Luke Donald, another good fit here. Stuart Sink has finished inside the top 5. Same with Neesmith. Well, obviously, from last year, some of these guys have. 1 to 3, have at it. I think choosing 3 golfers is just fine. I'm certainly going to probably start at 2. I mean, I'm doing all the 10K, 9K combinations at least 3 or 4 times, as long as they're not paired together, following the sweet spot process. I think that's fine. And that's probably more time we need to spend on the last year one bucket. So let's move on. Last year too, somewhere between 0 to 1. I'm not gonna spend too much time on this. I will say this. Here's an interesting note. 100% frequency of finishing or having a optimal lineup golfer from this bucket over the last 9 years. I think the last year bucket goes back 9 years. Every single year, we've seen at least one guy from this bucket in the optimal lineup. I'm sorry, in order to have optimal lineups, you need salaries, and that only goes back to 2018. So erase what I just said out of your minds. You need salaries to have optimal lineups, and 2018 was the first year. So it goes back to 2018. Either way, 100% frequency rate. Can you get there with any of these guys? Probably not. This is more of the spray and pray method, where you just are a blind dart. I don't see a single golfer here that I'm just like, I have to play this guy. I'm not, and I'm also not afraid to play any of them. If I'm being quite honest, I think any of them fit the mold just fine. So again, 0 to 1, but of course we round this up to 2. We want that 2-point buffer, so you can play up to 2 golfers from that bucket. I'm probably just gonna play 1 and just move on. I think that's fine. Last year 3s, again, it's 0 to 1. I mean, we have less golfers in that bucket than we normally do. It's not a high success rate or even a high frequency rate of being the optimal lineup. So probably a risky bucket when we look at our last year 3s. Denny McCarthy's in here. Here's a wonderful thing. So the projection's always going to be 0 to 2. Again, that's the minimum projection no matter what. The raw projection is 0 to 1. If I'm going to play Denny McCarthy, I'm not pairing him up with any of these guys. So if that's something that's on your list, don't do it. Just don't do it. There's no point. You can certainly try to challenge the buckets, but we just had a 100% success rate last week. Now, yeah, there can be, 2 golfers from this bucket that do finish inside the top 10. Very possible. And hell, could even be 3. But they won't be in the optimal lineup. Not all 3 of them. I shouldn't say that because they're all low priced, so it is possible. But if I'm going to put my money on it, I mean, I'd probably give you like 101 odds to say like it's just you're not going to have 3 guys from this bucket in the optimal lineup. I'm just going to stay at 1. I think that's the best way to go about this. I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, I like Denny this week. And I like, Webb. I don't mind playing Webb or even Russell Knox. Like some of these guys, I get it. But this is where the bucket system tells you to limit your exposure to golfers from this bucket. So that's my advice. Going to the next bucket. Last year, 4s. Again, 0 to 1. 4 golfers in this bucket. It can be 0 to 2, but technically with 4 golfers in it, the chances aren't that great. Nick Taylor is in that bucket with other guys that I don't mind playing, but I will not be playing multiples of these. So when I build my optimizer, when I put my conditions in, I'm just going to stick this to 0 to 1, despite me telling you 0 to 2 is the actual projection. It's 1 at most for me. Last year 5s, 0 to 2. There's 31 golfers in that bucket this week, where we normally see around 38. Now, this is your missing the cut last year bucket, so keep that in mind. 0 to 2 doesn't tell you want to play at least 1, but you can play up to 2. Doesn't look like missing the cut is that big of a deal at this tournament. Keegan Bradley, your top price guy in this bucket, followed by Wyndham Clark, Taylor Moore, JT Poston. So again, out of this list of golfers, I wouldn't select more than 2. If you're building a lineup, if you're building one lineup, don't select more than 2 golfers from this bucket. And I really don't know how I feel 1 versus 2. I think it's fine. If you want to select 2 golfers, by all means. Because I like Lee Hodges, for instance. I also don't mind going down to Charlie Hoffman, he was an alternate that got into this event. Chesson Hadley, I think, actually it's a pretty decent play at $6,900. I think that's fine. There's a lot of good golfers I don't mind playing. So 0 to 2. I think that's a perfectly fine projection. And again, these are projections to finish inside the top 10, which is going to give you your best opportunity to hit the optimal lineup, if not that GPP winning lineup. Going more than 2, I just don't see it. You know, and you can certainly win a GPP by not having all 6 of your golfers inside the top 10. But I'm just being very narrow focused and being very strict with my projections. So if you do like 3 golfers, by all means, challenge it. Go for it. Challenge it. I just don't think you're going to find 3 of those golfers inside the top 10. So again, by all means, challenge it if you want to. Last year's 6s, there's 74 golfers in this bucket where we normally see 54. Projections somewhere between 2 to 5, and I think that's a fair projection. You're going to find every single year there's been at least 2 golfers from this bucket in the optimal lineup. This is going to include rookies that have never played this event before. This is also going to include veterans who just didn't play last year. So it's up to you to find those guys. So when it comes to last year's 6s, again, 2 to 5 is the projection. Probably go 2 to 4 and be comfortable with that, but Jordan Spieth, who has played here before, you can find that in the course history column that you see on the screen, or also with the cheat sheet. Again, link in the description. He has course history, just didn't play last year. Same goes with Justin Rose, who seems to be a favorite amongst a lot of people. Well, he's in a bucket that's, I'm telling you, you want at least 2 from. You could literally start Spieth and Rose. We'll see what the tee times show to follow Sweet Spot process and the marquee tee times. But as it stands now, having a Spieth and Rose lineup sounds pretty juicy. Sounds pretty good. Justin Suh, Maverick McNeely, Ben Griffin. Ben Griffin seems like a good play. Aaron Rai is out, so I should just update that right now. Might as well just do it amongst all the buckets that he has. He is out, so keep that in mind. I like Benny Ann. I know there's been people talking about Victor Perez, and he's the 60th ranked golfer in the world. He actually could be better. I don't think I updated these in time for this tournament, so from what happened at the Players. But prior to the Players, he was 60th in the world. It's pretty good. Probably one of the top ranked golfers in the field. I'm not sure exactly where he stands, but still, you know, because he hasn't played a lot of PGA Tour events, he's not ranked very high in my model. And I'm okay with that, by the way. I have heard content creators saying, well, if you didn't have the European Tour stats or, you know, any alternative tour, you're not going to know how good this guy is. Well, I do know how good he is based off his OWGR. I don't need to know how he's played at other events where the field is less. I mean, if we understand how strokes gain stats work, unless it's your raw strokes gain stats, which I know some people do use, that's fine. That's actually good. I like that, that metric. You're not really going to know how good Victor Perez is. Now, he hits the ball far. And I've always advocated for the further you hit it, the better your scoring opportunities will be. Because even if you have to club down off the tee, you're still going to have a shorter iron into the green, which mitigates side spin. It's going to get you in a better position, you know, for green light scenarios, essentially. So Victor Perez, just based off of pure talent, raw talent, whatever you want to call it, I don't mind playing him, honestly. Just not going to rate out well in my model, so just keep that in mind. Ludwig Aberg or Auberg, he's a rookie, I'm pretty sure. Well, I know he's a rookie, but I think he's still an amateur. I think he still has amateur status. I could be wrong on that. A lot of people hyping him up. I don't care. I won't have a lot of exposure to him. Not a big deal. Here's an interesting one. Akshay Bhatia. 9th in my model. 9th. You want to know why he's 9th? As I scroll over, I had to look at this earlier today. As I scroll over, 1, DK points. One of the top golfers in the field with DK points. And it's not that he has a limited amount of events. I mean, he does 16 events, but that's still pretty darn good. 16 rounds. That's about four events. I'm sorry. Still pretty good. 4 events, scoring 87 points. And then when we look at the last 7 weeks, just recent form, we can also look at the DK points here. 95. So I imagine that is, well, here, let's double check. So Akshay Bhatia is what, 75, 70 something, right? 75. Second place at the Puerto Rico Open. So I'm sure he got most of his points there, but he also was 49th at the Honda Classic, which is a tough course. And not sure what his DraftKings points were at the Honda Classic. You guys can obviously look that up. But to have 95 as your average finishing or your average DK points, it's pretty darn good. And especially when we look at season long, so we had 2 more events on that. It's really good, really good. Scoring potential, I know the guy can score in bunches. So he can score birdies in bunches, I should say. So keep that in mind. I think, you know, I'm sure a lot of people will be playing him, which is whatever. I don't mind. $7,500 is a great value. And then also Will Gordon right underneath him. Now I could talk about every one of these guys. Ben Taylor is 14th in my model. He's at $7,200. He did withdraw from the Players Championship last week, so pay attention to that. If it's illness, I trust that he's back and he's going to be just fine. Other than that, yeah, 2 to 5. Remember, 2 to 5 is what we want. We want to grab that many golfers from this bucket. Again, somewhere between 2 to 5. So that's going to wrap up the last year bucket. The next bucket that we want to talk about is the last week bucket. So we're just going to fire through this once again. I didn't really fire through the last year buckets, but I think you guys get the gist of how this works. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time, you know, going over all the golfers I like. We'll do a lot of that tomorrow in the strategy video. So I will go over anchor buckets, which are really just narrowing down the buckets we want to choose golfers from, and then choosing those golfers to anchor around our lineups. So let's just fire through this. Last week ones, you can see the projection is 1.08, so we'd round down to 1, but guess what? The max projection is only 1.8. So because this only projects up to 2, or it only rounds up to 2, remember, I want a 2-point buffer, and since we can go down from 1 to 0, we do. So this projection is actually 0 to 2. Now, you can be risky and just say, nope, I'm going to stick to the 1. It's telling me I want at least one guy from this bucket to be inside the top 10, so I'm doing it. That's fine. You can do that. There are only 8 golfers in that bucket, where we normally see 16. Let's take a quick look. Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, Justin Rose, Denny McCarthy. We talked about a bunch of these golfers in the last year buckets. I don't mind going to someone like Justin Thomas once again. And of course, we talked about Rose. Here's the one thing I'll say. We did talk about Rose and Spieth together in the last year 6 bucket. I would now retract that statement. As much as we want 0 to 2 from this bucket, I just don't like the percentages that selecting Spieth and Rose would be the duo that comes out of this bucket inside the top 10. Like, there are a lot of good golfers in this bucket, including Justin Thomas, like even Denny McCarthy, Adam Hadwin. Now, I'd probably put Spieth and Rose as a combo above just about anybody. I mean, I wouldn't, like, I think it's almost a fair combo between Rose and Justin Thomas as it is Spieth and Justin Thomas. But if I were to go, like, you know, take Rose and Jordan Spieth compared against Justin Thomas and Denny McCarthy, I'd still probably go Jordan Spieth and Justin Rose. And if I did that with Justin Thomas with any of these other guys, it just doesn't work out. So that's how I look at it. 0 to 2, but the raw projection is 1 to 2. So do with that as you will. Going to the next bucket. Last week 2s, 0 to 2 here as well. 11 in that bucket where we normally see 13. Burnsy's in this bucket. Fleetwood. So again, the max is 2. I wouldn't select more than 2 golfers from this bucket to put in my lineups. It's just how I look at it. So I'm going to move on. Again, I'm going to fire through these. Last week 3s, 40 to 60 is that finishing position of the players. 0 to 2 here as well. We have 16 in that bucket where we normally see 8. Not a very good success rate or frequency rate. Again, 0 to 2, last week 3s. Brian Harmon, Matt McNeely. I mean, if you did like Brian Harmon, I think it's pretty easy to fade the rest of these guys. I have no issue with that. But you could select up to one more, and that's it. I wouldn't go more than 2 at all from this bucket. It does not look promising. So, moving on. Last week 4s. 0 to 1, but of course we up it to 2. There are only 3 golfers in that bucket, so if you really wanted to keep it at 1, I'm not going to talk you off of that. I think that's fine. So it's a very low success rate bucket, not a high projection. Alex Smalley, Kevin Kisner, Pat Kazire. These are golfers I could see inside the top 10. Each of them, all 3 of them. So that 0 to 2 projection actually could come in handy. But I think I'm going to keep it at 0 to 1 because I just don't want to pigeonhole myself with a bad lineup. So keep that in mind. Last week 5s are golfers who missed the cut at the Players Championship. That projection is 2 to 4. Here's one caveat that I like to do. You don't have to do this. So you can see the projections here. I also have another column over here called max projection that you won't see on the cheat sheet. I've not included this yet. This bucket right here says, again, 2 to 4, but the max projection over here says 2.93, which we round up to 3. And remember, I want a 2-point buffer between that, so the minimum automatically drops to 1. So I do that with the minimum. So to me, the new projection for this bucket, because this is 2.93, again, up to 3, round, 2-point buffer down to 1. That's my new minimum, is 1. My max is still 4. So when I write this into the optimizer, the projection will be 1 to 4. Just throwing that out there. 47 golfers in that bucket. We normally see 17. So I think it's really difficult to determine how many golfers are going to come out of this bucket. And I think 1 to 4 is actually a fantastic projection, despite how conservative it is. Matt Fitzpatrick's in this bucket. Keegan Bradley's in this bucket. Davis Riley is in this bucket. You can see the rest of the list. Good names, good golfers. 1 to 4, I think, is a wonderful projection. You could build half your lineup with these guys, and it'd be just fine. Just put one of these guys in your lineup, and that's also going to be just fine. So do with that as you will. The last bucket I'm going to talk about in the last week stat category is the did not plays. That is your last week bucket 6. Projection 0 to 2. Pretty, yeah, that's right on point with the more conservative projection. So 0 to 2 golfers from what is on the screen. Starts at $7,800 of Victor Perez. We were talking about him not too long ago. Then it's Ludwig Aberg, Akshay Bhatia, Pearson Coody. 0 to 2. I wouldn't load up on these guys. I think you could play up to 2 of these golfers, and that's going to be just fine. These are, again, remember, these are golfers who did not play at the Players Championship. Normally, we have 85 golfers in that bucket. We only have 60 this year because, well, I mean, a lot of people went from the Players. I should say a lot. Let's just say more players from the Players Championship came to the Valspar when normally that doesn't happen. So we're losing out on 25 golfers. That's what's going to drive down this projection when we have a 100% frequency rate of at least one golfer being inside the top 10 from this bucket. That kind of tells you that it's usually not a high quality bucket. It's just a volume driven bucket with 85 that we see normally every single year. So yeah, that's odd. I mean, it adds up. 144 is usually what our playing field is every single week or every single year at this tournament. And that's exactly what this equals up to. Pretty close. Anyways, let's move on. That was the end of your last week buckets and the projections that go with those. I'm still challenging myself to go faster, so we're going to try to go cruise through this. Your course history buckets. Course history 1, 0 to 2 is the projection. We have 4 golfers in that bucket this week, so 0 to 2 is a pretty, it's It's a pretty fine projection. Success rate's pretty high. So too is the frequency rate. Let's see who those golfers are. Again, if you're following along with me, make sure you select everybody so then we can filter down on the like course history buckets. Course history 1, there are 4, 0 to 2. I don't mind starting with one of these guys. I probably won't pair up any of these guys together. Now, I did say I'm going to do all the 10 and 9K combinations. That still will apply for these 3 golfers right here. So Sam Burns, I still will put together with Tommy Fleetwood. I'll still put together with Davis Riley. But guess what? If I make a Sam Burns, Tommy Fleetwood lineup, these 2 won't be in it. If I make a Sam Burns, Davis Riley lineup, Fleetwood and Neesmith won't be in it. So hopefully you guys get the idea of how lineups, I think, how they should work, or I think what would be beneficial for you. Moving on. Course history 2s. This is having decent course history. 0 to 2 is a projection. We see about the same amount of golfers. So that works out. There's been at least one golfer in the optimal lineup every single year dating back to 2018 from this bucket. So let's take a look. 0 to 2 is the projection. So again, we're going to course history 2s. Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, Denny McCarthy. 0 to 2 is the projection. So there's a chance 0 golfers from this bucket finish inside the top 10. But there's a 100% frequency rate of seeing 1 in the optimal lineup. Something's going to break. Well, I mean, 0 to 2 still means you can select up to 2 golfers. So if you did want to start with JT or even Jordan Spieth, I think you're in the clear. I think it's just fine. But it is making lineup building a little bit more interesting because, like, I've been kind of paying attention to Austin Smotherman's name as I go through these. That's probably the only guy I really have my eyes on in this bucket outside of the top guys up here. Not Brandon Wu, but Denny McCarthy, Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas. Now, I say not Brandon Wu, but I will play some Brandon Wu. I don't have an issue with that. It's just he's not a guy that I'm like, I got to play this guy. So anyways, 0 to 2, go wild. I think Jordan Spieth or Justin Thomas is the one to choose. Course history 3s. 1 to 4 is the projection. We come over here to this little conservative projection, and that's 3. So it's still the same. 1 to 4 stays the same. Course history 3s. Fitzpatrick, Rose, Bradley, Hadwin. I'll let you guys look at the cheat sheet as to which golfers you like. I really don't have anything. Like I said, I'm doing every 10 and 9K combination, and there's a bunch of 9K golfers that I will be playing. Then it's a bunch of 7K golfers, 6K golfers. That'll just be the glue of the lineups. So I'm sure I'll play somewhere between 1 to 3, 1 to 4 golfers from this bucket. I think that's fine. Course history 4s, 0 to 2 is the projection. Starts with Wyndham Clark and Gary Woodland. Those are notable names. I'm not forcing myself to play any of these guys. By the way, this is one of the worst course history buckets, like just number based. But again, when you look at the projections, 0 to 2, yeah, I mean, there's a 100% frequency rate of having 1 inside the top 10, dating back to, when we look at top 10 frequency rates, those go back to 2014. 2015 for course history, sorry. So there's good data that shows that at least 1 golfer from this bucket has been inside the top 10 every single year. I just don't know because the strength of field isn't that great. Like the points that go towards it, not super great. So I suppose let's move on to the next one, course history 5s. This would be your worst course history bucket. 0 to 1 is the raw projection, but again, we round up to 2, or we always have a 2-point buffer, so it's 0 to 2. There are 22 golfers in that bucket. I'm probably not forcing myself to play any of these guys, but interested to see who it is. Okay, so Taylor Moore, sure. Akshay Bhatia, so he's missed the cut at this event before. I mean, that's okay, right? Again, the projection, the raw projection, 0 to 1. But we want that 2-point buffer, so 0 to 2 technically. If you wanted just to limit yourself to one, you could go with an Akshay Bhatia and then remove yourself from 21 other golfers. So you can certainly do that. I think that's very plausible and actually pretty smart. So just throwing that one out there. And then our last bucket are our course history sixes. 1 to 3 is the projection. And it starts with Justin Suh, Maverick McNeely, Ben Griffin. These are golfers who've never played the Valspar Championship before. I mean, it goes back to 2013. Most of these names aren't that old, so a lot of these are definitely golfers playing it for the first time. Say that because we could have an old-time golfer in here. I mean, I could scroll down. I think Paul Haley's in his 40s, so he probably is a golfer that might have played here before 2013. If we were to see like a Jerry Kelly like we did last week, he'd definitely be a golfer that played here before 2013 that I wouldn't have data on. But it looks like everybody else just hasn't played this. The first time playing it. All right, so let's move on. Get out of the course history buckets and go into the recent form buckets. Some people believe recent form is the way to go. Shouldn't even look at course history. I put them in buckets. I think it's easier doing it that way. 0 to 2 is the projection here. Minimum 0, max 2. There are only 2 golfers in it, so probably not a super great bucket to pick from. Now, this would be your best recent form coming into this event. Yeah, so Ryan Gerard and John Vanderlaan. Yeah, I'm cool with probably not playing a golfer from this bucket, period. I mean, I don't mind taking a risk on Ryan Gerard, but I'm really not forcing myself to play any of these guys. They definitely won't be anchor plays in my lineups. Recent form 2s. This is that next tier of recent form. And I mean, the projection is pretty good. 1 to 3, 16 golfers in that bucket. This will be an anchor bucket we'll go over tomorrow. Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, Justin Rose, Justin Suh, a bunch of Justins in here. Akshay Bhatia is also in here. So 1 to 3 was the projection. That makes things interesting. I mean, like going from a Jordan or a JT or a Jordan to a Rose and then filling them in with any of these guys right here, $8,900 and below. I think it's possible. I think it's okay. I think it's fairly smart to do. Got no issues with that. So very, very, very interesting with lineup building this week. I'm going to put recent form 3s on the table here, but go back to the bucket system just to look at the projection. 2 to 4 is what I have for the raw projection, and that stays the same when we look at the conservative projection. 2 have found themselves inside the top 10 every single year, and at least 1 in the optimal lineup. So this is definitely a bucket you want to select from. There are 49 golfers in here, so it makes it a little bit challenging. Oh yeah, I already had it loaded up. Recent form 3s. There you go. Just to make it even more difficult to select which 10K golfer you want, Sam Burns and Matt Fitzpatrick are in this bucket. To go along with a bunch of, 4 9K golfers, 1 8K golfer, and then a ton of 7K golfers. So interesting. Super interesting. Again, the projection's 2 to 4. I guess if I was actually thinking about building lineups now, because now my brain is kind of racing as to what I want to do. If I went Jordan Spieth or Justin Thomas, paired him up with Fleetwood or Keegan Bradley or even Denny McCarthy, Adam Hadwin. So now I'm selecting one guy from here. Remember, we want 2 to 4. So go a 10K golfer with one of these 9K golfers. Probably not really trying to put Woodland in my lineup. But now I have the option to put 2 of these 7K golfers in my lineup. Or even one of these 6K golfers down here. Which actually I have no issue with whatsoever. Yeah, again, lineup building is going to be very interesting this week. Very interested to see what's going to pull out next or tomorrow in the live video when I build lineups. We'll see. I really don't know who to go to down here. Because it's really hard to pair like two of these guys, two or even like three of these guys up here together. Like that would be really impossible to do. So very, very intriguing. Okay, cool. Recent form 4s, 1 to 3 is the projection that I have for this bucket. 61 golfers in that bucket, by the way. That's almost impossible. Like, I mean, it's a volume driven bucket. 61, normally we see 50. At least one in the optimal lineup every single year, but not always one inside the top 10. So that is very, very interesting. Well, top 10s go way back before salaries. Optimal lineups go back to 2018. So just throwing that out there. I already forgot the projection because my short-term memory is bad. 1 to 3. 1 to 3. Harmon, Davis Riley, Maverick McNeely. I feel like Maverick McNeely is going to do well this week. Only because I don't want to play him. I mean, I'm telling you right now, he had an injury for a while, just came back. I don't think this is a course that really suits him. And because of that, he's going to do well. So you can coattail off of me just not playing him and use that to your advantage. Just, I can't do it. And then the rest of these guys, interesting, I think fillers, really. A ton of 7K golfers with 6. I think the 6K range, just first glance, looks better than the last 6K range we looked at. And I also like a lot of the 7K golfers from this bucket. So maybe there'll be a little bit of a mix and match between recent form 3s and recent form 4s when it comes to the 7 and 6K range. I really don't mind Brian Harmon or Davis Riley. I think those are good plays. So moving on. Now, course history 5s and 6s, 0 to 2. I think we just blow through these ones because these are, if I said course history, I meant recent form. Yeah, recent form. 0 to 2, well, take the 6s out. Patton Kizzire, Troy Merritt, Doug Gim. 0 to 2. I probably stay away from playing 2 of these guys together. Maybe just 1. And I think that's what I'll actually write into the buckets, the optimizer. I don't want to select more than 1 of these guys. I really don't. Just looking at them, just name value, that's cool. I don't need to play more than 1. And then when it comes to the recent form 6s, these are golfers who just haven't played. There are only 2 of them, Victor Perez and Nick Gabrielchik. Something like that. Victor Perez, sure, I'll play him. But, I mean, the exposure levels that I'll have of Victor Perez are probably going to be 16% or less. So, and this Nick guy, 1% maybe, if even that, I certainly won't play him. So that covers your recent form buckets. Now we get into kind of like the ancillary buckets. We'll start with the salaries. We've already talked about this really with pass optimal lineups and GPP winning lineups. 6K golfers, or not 6K, jeez. 10K golfers. I saw this number right here. Guess what? It's showing you on at least 1 to 3. Now, last week at the Players Championship, when we had 4 good golfers, Rory McIlroy, Scotty Scheffler, John Rahm, and Xander Schauffele were all 10K golfers. Those 4 golfers together, the projection at the Players Championship was 0 to 2. Meaning it wasn't that important to have a 10K golfer, although Scotty Scheffler did win the tournament. Rahm withdrew. Rory missed the cut, and Xander finished like 29th or something. I mean, it was pitiful for Xander. Here, different story. You want at least 1. From the 4 golfers that we do have in the field, you want at least 1. And it's probably because it makes up 32% of the strength of field points, most likely. We already know who the 10K golfers are. So I guess it's already opened up to everyone, and it's already sorted by salaries. JT, Spieth, Burns, and Fitzpatrick. I imagine a lot of people aren't going to be playing Fitzpatrick. I think probably they jump to Burns, probably include a little bit of Spieth in their life, and probably don't shy away from Thomas. So if you want to play the whole ownership angle, you want one of these guys, why not play Matt Fitzpatrick? Personally, I don't care. I'm pairing each 10 and 9K combination up together at least 3 to 4 times. So there are 6 of them. So I'll probably do it 4 times. That'll build me 96 lineups, I believe. If the math, oh no, I'm off. There's 7 9K golfers. Yeah, I could still do that 4 times, and I'll have just under 120 lineups built. Just doing all those combinations. And I think that'll get me on a good path of hitting the optimal lineup, honestly. So yeah, 10K golfer, yeah, select one for sure. 9K is also showing 1 to 3. We've seen 2 inside the top 10 every single year, but both the 10K and the 9K have had moments where 0 golfers were in the optimal lineup. Now, I bet you that if one year a 10K golfer was in the optimal, that's probably when the 9K golfer was not in the optimal. And vice versa, when there were 9K golfers in the optimal, there probably weren't any 10Ks, especially when there were 2 9Ks, which we saw twice in 2018 and 2019. So just going through the projections, it looks pretty balanced. The 10-9-8-7-7-6 approach looks, I mean, that's basically what you're seeing on the screen right now. Definitely want a 10, definitely want a 9, definitely want a 7. And then it's just mix and match the rest. So 10, 9, and 7, yeah, it seems pretty decent. I think that's fine. And then the last bucket to talk about are the strokes gain buckets. I'm not going to explain what these buckets are. I do have a video that explains about it, and you just have to go to the strokes gain portion of it. I'll explain all about it within like 2 minutes. Strokes gain 1. There are 9 golfers in that bucket. We normally see 9. We want at least 2 to 4 of these guys. I'll go through the golfers really quick. By the way, it's all color coded. So you can see it's all color coded by the strokes gain bucket. So strokes gain 1, we want somewhere between 2 to 4. I shouldn't say that. We're projecting 2 to 4 inside the top 10. That is always something I need to remind myself. Picking them and projecting them are 2 different things. We could have 2 of these guys inside the top 10 and that bucket would be successful. But guess what? It could be JT and Sam Burns and you can't play them together to hit the optimal or to even take down a GBP. So I have to watch when I say those things. I get ahead of myself sometimes. JT. I think, again, good choice to pick 10K golfers from. I don't see an issue why you wouldn't. And then pairing them up with 9Ks or even some of these 8K, or not these. I like the 9s and the 10s. I could deal without these golfers. Like, I'm not forcing myself to play them. But KH Lee is 16th in my model, and then Ben Taylor's 14th. So the optimizer is going to be selecting them pretty frequently. So keep that in mind. Strokes gain 2, 0 to 2. So despite having 1 in the optimal lineup every single year and pretty much having the amount that we typically see every year, it's not a for sure dunk as to picking a golfer from this range. It's headed by Keegan Bradley. Then it goes down to Davis Riley, Justin Suh. I think it's probably difficult for me not to play some of these guys. Again, I'm doing the 10 and the 9 combinations throughout my lineup. So I will be playing Keegan. I will be playing Davis Riley. And I'm sure a lot of these guys will be mixed in. 0 to 2. So there's a possibility we don't see one of these guys in the optimal lineup. It's also a possibility we don't see one of these guys inside the top 10. So keep that in mind. Definitely don't play more than 2 of these guys. That's for sure. So if you want to go balance and you go like Keegan, Riley, Suh, Sam Stevens for whatever reason, I would advocate against that. Don't do that. Moving to the strokes gain 3 bucket. This is a very large one. It looks like 42 golfers in that bucket, but the projection is only 1 to 3. Not a super high success rate, but a high frequency, 100% frequency rate. Not only being inside the top 10, but also being in the optimal lineup. So projection again, 1 to 3. Jordan Spieth, there's your 10K golfer. I think it's kind of easy. Like, if it's not Spieth, it's one of the other 10K golfers. And really, if you think it's Spieth, that's going to finish inside the top. Oh, by the way, Jordan Spieth could finish inside the top 10, as too could any of these other 10K golfers, and our buckets would be successful, right? Because we could still have, you know, what was our projection here? 1 to 3, 2 to 4, 2 to 4. Actually, 1 to 4. This conservative projection here. So let's just pretend it's 2 to 4 though. Literally, we could have Sam Burns, Brian Harmon as our second guy from this bucket, paired up with Jordan Spieth inside the top 10. You can't build lineups around those guys. You'd be very hard pressed to find a really good lineup that starts with those 3 golfers. So when I project these guys, it's really who's going to be inside the top 10, not how many you want to pick, you know, from that bucket. You know, I mean, you can use it that way. I use it that way, but keep that in mind. It's actually really worth mentioning when it comes to the live version of this video, or the strategy video, because when I put the buckets in there, I do have to do that. I have to, when I put the conditionals in and one bucket says 2 to 4, and there's a high likelihood that it's going to be a 10K golfer, when there's a 10K golfer in an opposite bucket in that stat category, I probably need to lower the projection. I'm being honest. That totally makes sense. Someone reminded me of that in the strategy video, for the followers that do like to watch both this and the strategy, or participate in the strategy. I got to do that. I have to lower. I'll definitely lower this one to 1 to 4, and I might actually just lower this one to 0 to 3, because I do think Jordan Spieth has a good opportunity to actually be one of the golfers inside the top 10, but not in the optimal lineup. So just throwing that out there. But a good list of golfers to select from. Again, 1 to 3 limits your choices of which golfers you can actually select. Stroke chain 4, 0 to 2. And actually the rest of these buckets will be 0 to 2. So let's just keep that in mind. Rose, McCarthy, McNeely. Yeah. If you like Rose, pair him up with one of these other guys, and that's it. I would not put more together. Just no. I don't think that's smart. By all means, though, you can challenge the buckets. Last week they're 100% successful. So, and the week before that, it was 35 out of 36. That's what, 97%. I mean, it's up to you. Challenge me if you want. But yeah, I'm definitely not picking more than 2 of the golfers from this bucket, and that's totally fine. Kind of helps us limit how many golfers we actually want to choose. Stroke chain 5, again, 0 to 2, but not a lot of notable names in here like Webb Simpson, but he's obviously struggling a lot. He was almost dead last at the Players Championship last week. Just not the same golfer. Augusto Nunez. I don't mind going to someone like him, by the way. He's a talented golfer. Russell Knox, obviously a talented golfer. Ben Martin, I don't mind going to. This is a Bermuda course, although it's somewhat overseeded, so you got to keep that in mind. Yeah, 0 to 2 from there, and then, you know, the stroke chain 6s, I think you can just stay away from. I really don't have an issue. I just probably won't play any of those golfers. So that wraps up all of the buckets. We're at an hour and a half. I think that's fine. I mean, it's faster than I typically do. Probably less golfers to talk about. Tournament isn't as strong, so that's an easier way to get through all this. So now that we're finished with the preview, reminder, tomorrow I'll be doing a live video. Somewhere between 7 and 8. I will post it on my YouTube. You'll see I'll be going live within an hour. I usually like to post it an hour before going live. So be on the lookout on YouTube. Be also on the lookout on Twitter. I'll also post it there. Again, 7 to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time is when I'll probably go live. Again, just reminders. Come in and participate. Like I said, we had 12 people chatting it up last week. It was a lot of fun. If you didn't already know, you could follow along with me using the cheat sheet. There's a link in the description. I would just say rewind all the way back to the intro of this video, basically, of the giveaway reminders on how to access that and download it so you can use the filters. I'm sure you already have. You don't need a reminder right now. But some monetary reminders. Prize Picks, if you're not on that, again, use a promo code SweetSpot, put $20 in your account, and I'll give you your $20 back. That way you can play it for free. Prize Picks will match your deposit up to $100. That initial 20 will turn into 40, but you put $100 in there. All up to you. You're still getting $20 from me. You can play it for free, have $40 in your account, or have $200 in your account and only really spend $80. So again, up to you. Highly encourage you to, again, link in the description for that sign up page using the promo code SweetSpot. And then weekly/monthly giveaway, be subscribed, comment down below, comment on any of the videos I post this week, comment on any of the videos that I post this month. We're giving $50 away monthly. The monthly giveaway, I'm giving $50 away. If we can somehow reach 550 subscribers by the end of the month, I'll double that to 100. So I'm really challenging you guys. You know, can you share it enough with your friends and family to get it up to 550? If you can, I'll reward those that participate on the channel and someone will win $100. Otherwise, someone's going to win 50. And if that's good enough for you to become a subscriber, I know it's kind of like a cheap way to get subscribers, but again, I am rewarding those that participate on this channel, and I'll continue to do that as long as I have this YouTube channel. I think engagement is very important. I want you to know that I find it really important, and I appreciate all of those that do engage on the channel and participate on the channel. So why not? I provide a little giveaway. That's fine. And if it's used as an incentive, I think that's perfectly reasonable and okay. So this monthly giveaway is the same as a weekly giveaway. I do all my weekly giveaways Mondays during the preview videos, so I already did one this week. Go check to see who won. Maybe it was you. And then all of your names that participated throughout the week go into the monthly giveaway. So it's just a win-win. It's all because you participated on the channel. So those are the giveaway reminders. I will also have an optimizer tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. If you want access to that, you got to do the same thing you see on the screen. Be subscribed, comment down below, and then contact me right there, SweetSpotDFS@gmail.com, and let me know that you want that optimizer, and I'll send it your way. Otherwise, that's all that I have. So thank you guys for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, bye.